Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Spencer with Rule Zero podcast. Today, I want to talk about the 10 things I wish I knew about Commander before I started playing it. Number one is how much fun I would have. It's a game, first and foremost, and it's a game that I've actually learned to fall in love with. What's interesting is in high school, I would make fun of the guy. You'd be walking down the halls, see guys playing Pokemon or Magic, and I was with the crowd that was not doing that thing, and I just decided that it would be fun to poke fun of that, or scoff, like that's not for me. Um, and then a little bit of background, I guess, 10 years or so, I had a really good friend named Robert. He introduced me to the game, and there's nothing else to do at that time, so we started playing the game, and I really got to learn to love it. And so I kept a lot of those old cards, put them, stuck them in a closet when I had just gotten married, and kind of just forgot about them. And then COVID happened. The pandemic came around, and again, there's nothing else to do. But a really good friend of mine, he started a game store, and he kept it open during COVID. So a bunch of my friends and I would go over there and play games, and we were there, frankly, way too many times for way too long. But I really learned to love this game. So if I made fun of you in the hall and you're seeing this, I'm sorry. I understand now. I understand that, the joy that this brings. So first off, it is a game. It is one of those things that I've learned to love. I've got with me my Mr. Negative deck, and I'll show you some stats, or I'll discuss some stats with this. My current play group, this is probably the most hated deck that I play with them, but it's also the best deck, I think, to illustrate of some of my points around here about what I'm talking about. I love this deck. It has been so much fun to play, and it causes a lot of just different situations in games where people are like, I don't know what to do with it. So we'll get into this. Mr. Negative, when he enters, you may exchange life with totals with target opponent. If you lose life this way, you draw that many cards. So you play him, you flip life totals, and if you do it right, the way I've built it, it's a blink deck. So I blink Mr. Negative. So it causes some controversy around the table, because I will have one of my friends will swing out with all of his dinosaurs, or all the dragons, and I'll gladly take all the damage, and then I'll blink him. And the what happens is the opponents go, wait a second, maybe we shouldn't do that. So, but then it also causes controversy, because then it turns into they're not attacking me for fear of me switching life totals, which then gives me complete control of the life totals anyways, because of the way I built the deck. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to use this deck to illustrate some of my points about the 10 things that I really wish I knew about Commander when I started playing. Again, number one, I wish I knew how much fun I would have with it. It has been a fun game to play, and the relationships that I've built with it are awesome. Number two, basic mechanics. It's the app nap is some of the what I'm going to title this. It's active player, not active player, or the stack. So with Mr. Negative, again, we're going to use him as the example. It is my turn. I am the active player, which means all of my stuff on the stack is put on the stack first, and then we'll do this. I'll put on the stack first, and then the non-active player responds and puts their thing on the stack. AppNap is the way that it's put on. So like I have priority, then it goes back to you guys, to the opponent, and then back to me, and so forth. So if you get used to how the turn order is played, and the priority is shifted, you're able to use this to your advantage here. So on my turn, if I want a spell to resolve, I'll cast Bloodletter. And then in response to the cast, an opponent plays a spell, their spell is going to resolve before mine does. Which is okay, depending on what I have in my hand. Maybe I'm okay with that. I've got some interaction here that can remove, or they can, it's Orsoff, but I do have some interaction, counter spell-esque stuff in here. So learning the app now. Mr. Negative, because I'm blinking him, I prefer to be the non-active player when I play the deck. On my turn, I will do a couple things to set up the game, but I will do everything I can to play the game on somebody else's turn. And the reason is because I want to be the one to have my stuff resolved first. meaning I'm the not active player on the stack return or priority order. If that makes sense. I think that's number 2 is understanding the basic mechanics of the stack, or active player, not active player. The faster you can learn that, and the quicker that makes sense to you, the more fun and the better your decks will roll. You don't need to ask permission to play. Again, this kind of falls into the same thing. If you have a counterspell and you want to use the counterspell, use it. Use it on what makes sense to you, on your strategy. Certainly don't give in to the peer pressure of others. Again, it is a game. It is a game that's meant to be played, and if you're playing a game like you would any other game, you're playing to win. So I really don't sit down and play Monopoly for 6 hours hoping that somebody else wins the game. It just doesn't work that way. So you don't need permission to play the game. You don't need to ask. So I will go into that a little bit further down the road, but we'll get there. Use the steps and phases to your advantage. Again, this goes into the active player, not active player thing. On my turn, I would also put this as using every phase as a purpose, including your opponent's phases. So if you have something that can be held up and used on somebody else's turn, I would argue that it's better to do that rather than use your turn to play all your hand to show all the cards going on, and then be able to sit around for 2 to 3 turn rotation in hopes that no one touches your thing. That's not how I like to play, and I don't recommend playing that way. So again, Mr. Negative is a blink deck, which means that if he is able to stay on the board for a full rotation and to the player 3 and I'm player 4, on player 3's end step, I am blinking Mr. Negative. If I have the opportunity, I will be flipping life totals at any time I can on somebody else's turn. And the reason for that is, A, if I lose a lot of life, I get to draw a lot of cards. So it sets up the next rotation of the turns, but it also just throws off the play style of everyone else. So use the steps and phases to your advantage. Next one is be patient, learn, and put the phone down. So I can't tell you how many times, and I'm at fault on this, where I'm learning to play the game, or I'm in the middle of playing a game. I play my turn, pass the turn, and then immediately pull my phone up. And that, it causes a couple things. First of all, you're disconnected from the playgroup. They're going to be talking about things, they're going to be describing what's going on the board, and you're going to be scrolling on Facebook, or hopefully watching my shorts. But you're going to be able to, or you're not going to be able to respond or ask the questions appropriately timed for what's going on in the game. Put the phone down and learn how to play the game. Magic is a game with interaction. It's kind of like, I grew up playing chess. I really love chess. Chess is a game about strategizing for the next turn, maybe even 3 or 4 turns ahead. But there is zero interaction with chess. You take my piece, I take your piece in the moment. Magic is that same way, where you're planning 3 or 4 steps ahead, but now you're adding the interaction. I'm going to cast Mr. Negative, and I'm going to hope and pray that you don't have a counterspell or some sort of interaction. Or if you do have interaction, then I'm going to go play my interaction to interact with it. So in this deck, I have, for my interaction pieces, not only can I blink him, so if he stays on the board, then yeah, if you go to remove him, I'll just blink him. I'll make it super hard for you to remove him. On the stack, here we go. I've got reprieve, so I can bounce. Here we go. So I can return target spell to its owner's hand. Angel's Grace is really good in this one. So again, it's got split second, but you don't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn until the end of turn. Damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. Again, what's really good about Mr. Negative is you are constantly flipping life back and forth. So Angel's Grace and a couple other cards like that protect my life total is awesome, because then I can drop my life total as far as I want to without having the risk of losing the game, or interacting with those who would win the game. I actually use Angel's Grace more for when someone goes and tries to use an infinite combo. Awesome. In response to, before it's able to resolve and firing off the combo, I will use Angel's Grace. Well, you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. Basically, it causes them to either draw the game if they can't stop the combo, or not continue with it, and which again ultimately stops the combo. On the next one, it's okay to do the thing once. I make a joke that I'll have a deck popping off. Mr. Negative will just be doing the thing, right? And I'll make the joke like, well, you guys are only going to let me do this once, because the next time we play and they start seeing me do it, they better have interaction. So that's totally okay. And it's okay to let others do that as well. I think there are sometimes, like I just recently played a game where this guy was playing his deck and it was popping off. It was, I don't remember exactly, it was cascading and discovering, he's done all sorts of stuff. And it's really cool to watch, and I didn't have very much interaction in my hand. So it's one of those things where I'm watching him and the joy he has with his deck doing it, and I go, okay, awesome. Well, just so you know, the next time you play your deck, I'm not letting it do that again, and that's okay. So again, it's okay to do the thing once. Number 8, be creative. I've seen decks. There was a deck tech I saw several years ago about dinosaurs and vehicles. I believe it was Galta was the commander, and instead of swinging out with dinosaurs, it was the dinosaurs were piloting all the cars and all the spaceships and all that. And it was funny. Honestly, it was super creative. Optimized, probably not really, but it was very creative. And I think that is the ultimate thing about Magic the Gathering, is it's a creative space. You want to have in this day and age with Universes Beyond, now if you want SpongeBob and Dwight and Captain America all in the same deck, go for it. And, if that's what you want to do, you want to swing the Fortnite hammer at me, and I'll throw the Captain America shield at you, great. It's kind of turned in that way, but it's a creative space. Be creative. Number 9, ask questions. I named it the Rule Zero podcast for a reason. Everyone needs to be having conversations about their decks. You need to be clear about what your deck is doing. I understand the bracket system. I understand the belief, that, okay, well, I have a game changer. It's immediately a bracket 3. But if I have a bracket 2 deck, or a deck that doesn't have any game changers in it, and it is fully optimized to play in the bracket 3s, be honest. Tell them it's a bracket 3 deck or bracket 4 deck if it really is. Now, if you have game changers, I have a deck. I can't remember. I think it's my Iron Man deck. Technically, it's a bracket 2. There's not any game changers in it, and yeah, it's an artifact deck. It's a 3. It definitely plays as a 3. On the other hand, again, I have some decks. I have a Thor deck that probably could be playing more in the bracket 3s right now. It has a 1 ring in it, so yeah, technically it's a bracket 3. But there are certain games that I've played, I'm like, yeah, this deck doesn't compete at all. So I want it to. There are things I'm going to do to that deck to make sure it competes in those decks, in those brackets. But you got to be honest. You have the conversation. Rule 0 is a rule for a reason. Please have the conversations and be honest. Number 10, have fun. Wrapping this up again, it is a game. It is meant to have fun and be creative. Now, my belief is the better you are at the game, the more fun you'll have, and the more fun your play groups will have. So there's a thing called an arms race. So it's when one player exceeds and excels the rest of the play group to a point where the rest of the play group has to then build their decks to compete with that. Honestly, I see no problem with it. I think, it makes the game more fun for everybody. And that's that. That's the 10 things I wish I knew when I played Commander. Thanks for watching.